Hey guys, so happy Tuesday. So we're going to continue talking about triangles, but we're going to talk about identifying bases and heights of triangles. Before we do that, we need to talk about lines. So if I have two lines okay, that was bad. Let me try to draw a straight line. So that's my straight line, and that's a better straight line. So I have two lines that go like that, and then I have a set of lines that look like this. Again, that should be a straight line. My drawing and writing might be sloppy, so sorry. And then I have a set of lines that look like this. So they have two different names. They both begin with P. So which one of these are these lines? Parallel or perpendicular? So these lines are parallel. And what parallel means are that they don't intersect, which means that if I keep drawing this line, if I could draw it straight and keep going with this line that would keep going, they would never intersect. So if you need to pause the video and write that down, do so. So it was parallel lines don't intersect or do not cross each other. This is the big one right here. So this word, I'll write it out for us, is perpendicular. Okay? That is what these two lines are called. Now, perpendicular lines mean that they form a right angle. And as we learned yesterday, a right angle is a 90-degree angle. You know you have a 90-degree angle when you have a box. So if you want to write that down, please do so and pause the video at any time. So these two lines are called perpendicular because you see that box, which means that it's a right angle, which means that there's 90 degrees, okay? So when we're looking at triangles, this is what we're going to be looking for right here, that box, because that box shows us that we have a right angle or a 90-degree angle. So we're going to talk about the formula for the area of a triangle tomorrow. But before that, we're just going to talk about the base and the height of the triangle, because you know when you find the area of a rectangle, it's length times width. And a rectangle only has the two different sides, so you multiply those two sides together. But if you look at these triangles, there's three numbers here. We only want to identify a base and a height. So let's start looking at this first triangle. We want to find the base and the height of a triangle. So the base always needs to be a side of the triangle. So if you need to write that down, the base of a triangle always needs to be one of the sides. The height of a triangle needs to be perpendicular to the base of the triangle. Okay, so again, pause if you need a second to write. That's what we're going to keep referring to. So when we have a base, it needs to be perpendicular, which means it needs to form a 90-degree angle with the height. So if I look at this triangle down here at the bottom, I see right here that shows us we have a 90-degree angle. So I want to think what two lines make that angle. And from here I could see that 6 and 8 form this right here, which means that 8 and 6 would be considered the base and the height. So because they're both parts of my triangle, that really doesn't matter which one I call the base and which one I call the height. Just like in a rectangle, it really doesn't matter which one's the length and which one's the width, because we know we're just going to multiply them. So same situation here. We don't need to be particular in this case because they're both sides of the triangle. Let's look at this. Let's look at these two triangles. So if I look at this triangle here, and if I just trace over it, the triangle is what's in black here. If I trace over it, there's no 90-degree angle. From here to here, that should remind us from yesterday's work that that's an obtuse angle. So I need to somehow find a right angle. So what we can do, if I was to extend this 9-centimeter line out and then draw up, I could have a right angle here, okay? So now I would want to look at what's considered the base and the height. Here, I would use 9 as my base because the base needs to be one of the sides as we wrote here. And the height needs to be 4 because the height is perpendicular to this line if I extended it out. A way to remember it, you wouldn't use 5 at all here because it's that slanted line and it's not perpendicular to anything. There's no 90-degree angle. So think about when Mystica takes your height against that cabinet, you're standing up straight and tall. You're not leaning to the side as you do it. So this 4 needs to be straight up and down, which is perpendicular to this line. Okay, I know it sounds a little tricky, but the more examples I'm just going to keep showing you, hopefully you'll be able to see them a little bit more clear as we go through more examples. So I have a triangle here. I want you to try and think for a second without me telling you. I'll give you like 10 seconds. Which would be the base and the height? Well, I changed my colors. So I would use 6 centimeters as the base and 9 centimeters at the height. So you could see here, there's this dotted line that's giving you straight up and down. And if I extended this 6 centimeter line, it would form that 90-degree angle right here where I'm shading in green. So there's your 90-degree angle. So that means that 9 and 6 are perpendicular to each other. Okay, if at any point in the video you need to pause or rewind, do so. I'm just on a time limit with what I can record. So sorry. So always pause and rewind if needed. Let's look at a couple more examples. Sorry, I keep flipping back and forth. So here I have this triangle. This triangle, watch where I'm tracing over. I call this triangle PQR. These dotted lines are outside of my triangle. You can have a height that is not part of your triangle. So in this example, 30 would be my base because your base, like we said, needs to be one of the sides. And the height is going to be 25. And the reason for that is look right here. This is what we're always trying to find, is that right angle. Once I see a right angle, then I look at the 2 lines that make up that right angle. So if I look, there's that 25 again, and I would just want to use 30 because that's the part of the triangle. So the height doesn't need to be part of the triangle, but that 30 here is part of the triangle. If I told you this was 5 right here, I would still use 25 and 30 because that dotted line is just an extension of the line. That's why it's dotted. It's there just to show you that it's connecting these 2 lines to make this right or 90-degree angle. Let's look at the next example, triangle ABC. Okay, so it says line AX is perpendicular to BC. So again, that means this line AB is perpendicular to BC, which means it makes a right angle. How you know it makes a right angle is because there is the box that shows it's 90 degrees. So I would use 10 as my base, and my perpendicular line is going right up and down, and it shows me just off to the side that this line is 14 centimeters. So 10 is my base, 14 is my height. On this example, AB would be a height and BC would be a base. A way to think about the base is like the bottom sometimes, but again, you're looking for that right angle. So I would say in this, I would say like line segment AB is the height and line segment BC is the base because the lines are perpendicular to each other. And you know that they're perpendicular because it forms a right angle, so you see that box in the corner there. If we look at number 2, I have triangle PRQ, and again, QR is just the base, and PS would be the height. So like I said, there, right here, is where there is the 90-degree angle. Okay, so this would be my height, this would be my base. Let's look at number 8. So we see a lot of things going on in this example. So again, the base needs to be part of the triangle, and then the height needs to be perpendicular. So I see 2 right angles here because of our boxes. If I look at this one, this line and this line make it. But I don't know what this piece is, so that's not going to be useful here. But here I see that right angle over here because there's the box. So this line and this line make up my base and my height. So I would say 15.5 is my base and 6 would be my height. In example number 7, again, you see a right angle over here. This line and this line make up that right angle, but you don't know what this piece is, so that's not going to be helpful. So where we want to look is over here at this right angle. So the 2 lines that make up this right angle are this line that I just trace over really badly and this 4 right here. So I would say 25 is the base and 4 is the height there. Let's look at this question here. It says Mrs. Leto asked her students to label a base and its corresponding height. So here they gave us a triangle. So what I want you to do is pause the video right now and try to tell if it's A, B, C, which of these students drew in a correct height. So your answer for this one should be A, because if this is my base, here is the height that is perpendicular because of this right angle. Mark is wrong in this choice because B and H don't form a right angle because you don't see the box there. And Kiki is wrong because B and H so the H here student C is wrong. Sorry, I had to look at it sideways. This one's wrong, and this is a common mistake that people make, is that they called the base the whole entire line. This whole entire line is not the base because the dotted parts are just an extension. That means it's just showing it continues. If they labeled, so I'll trace over it here, if they just labeled this as the base to where I drew, if they just labeled that right there as the base, then they would be correct. But because they drew it and labeled the base where the dotted lines are, then they're wrong. Okay, I'm just going to show you, I have like a minute and a half left to record, so I'm sorry. Here's another example. There's the base and there's the height, so it shows you CD. This little symbol right here shows that it's perpendicular to AB. Then again, you have another triangle here. So your base would be considered QR and your height would be PS because those 2 lines form that right angle, as you can see with the box. And this last example, it says the base is EH and the height is GF, again because they form a right angle here. And again, just like that common mistake that I told you, only EH is the base, so look carefully, not EF. Only EH is the base because that's the side of the triangle. If you need to, I know I just went through that quickly, pause these to look at them more carefully. So what you're going to do now is, the second thing I have posted is a screenshot from Google Docs. On a piece of paper, you're going to number them. I think I have 5 questions. You're going to number them 1 through 5. Sorry, I have 30 seconds left. Re-listen to the directions if you need to, but I'll write them in words. You're going to number them 1 through 5. You're going to draw the triangles and label them exactly like they are in the pictures. On your paper, you're going to highlight or circle, just like I did in the examples, what you would use for the base and the height, okay? And then around 1 o'clock, I'm going to post the answers. So I want this done before 1 o'clock. You're doing it on a separate sheet of paper, okay? message me in the comments if you need